Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here for tonight's hybrid event, Introduction to the Soil Food Web with Dr. Carla Portugal. This event is presented in partnership with the Arlington Heights Garden Club. My name is Jennifer Chaika, and I'm the Programs and Exhibits Manager at Arlington Heights Memorial Library. I'm joined by my colleague, Nikki Camp, who is with our in-house audience in the library's Cardinal Room. We're grateful to our Garden Club partners, Ingrid Erickson and Beth Lazinga, and grateful to each of you for making time for this event, whether on Zoom or in person. I'm thrilled to introduce tonight's guest. Dr. Carla Portugal is co-founder and scientific director at Soil Domains, as well as the lead researcher and mentor at Dr. Elaine's Soil Food Web School. Carla, we're so grateful to have you joining us. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, the Arlington Garden Club. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here this night with you guys. So once more, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you, to explore with you guys a little bit about Soil Food Web and an introduction to unseen heroes, what those guys can do to help us on a daily basis when dealing with soil and garden. Over the next 45 minutes, we will delve into the fascinating world of soil microbes and their profound impact on soil health, urban projects, which I know it's dear to your hearts, and our well-being, how those guys interact with human gut and how they can or cannot help us in return. We often separate agriculture from human nutrition, from human health into different categories. But thankfully, science is catching up, that there is something beyond. And what would be too weird if we think that everything is so interconnected, everything is part of the same biological network? Or going in a bit deeper, would be too weird to see ourselves again as part of nature and such as one more player in this huge food web that we have in the planet we call home. That's what we're going to explore a little bit today as well. And I want to put in the back of your mind, so constantly check these questions over the presentation, and hopefully we're going to have more chance to talk about this in the questions as well. What if the way that we treat soil directly affects how our human gut works? And moreover, the way that I deal with soil impacts the level of nutrients in the crop, in the plants, or even in the flowers that I'm dealing with. What can I do to help those little guys that we cannot see with our naked eyes? Help me improve all the beauties we can get in an urban garden. Uh, Again, my name is Carla Portugal. You can drop the doctor from now on. It's very, I like to talk a lot, so you can reach me in any of these two emails you can see on the screen. It will be also on the PDF that you guys can receive after the presentation. So I cannot start the day without talking about this powerhouse called Dr. Elaine Ingham. This woman, it's beyond words can describe. And I know that everyone that worked with Soil Food Web before knows how important she is for everything that we achieved so far, including the regenerative egg realm. So it's my honor to be here talking in her name. And I know that we have many heroes in this planet working with regenerative agriculture, and you are part of this movement. So thank you so much for opening the space, and above all, for opening your minds and hearts for the changes that we know we can achieve to improve our daily basis in helping nature help us, that how Dr. Lanes likes to say. So I'm going to throw a big curveball here. Uh, One thing that I learned in my early stages in college is that a tendency that we had, and thankfully is changing, is that we see, when we talk about planet, we see the separate subjects that work around the science in separate boxes. There is no much interconnectedness between biology, science, physics, art. We learn each one independent and separate. But we cannot forget that when we observe everything collectively, everything that we have, we can understand the planet as a living entity, right? And us, like I said before, seeing us as one small part in this whole scenario that we call home. So, what if I told you guys now that what is beneath our feet, especially in Chicago clay, heavy soil, heavily compacted in a lot of times, we have an invisible world of organisms that hold the key to a healthy food web, to a healthy soil, and can help us get better and stronger yield in our flowers. Everything can be better just by the fact of understanding who are those little creatures and how we can work with them. So I would like to start to reinforce that if we see healthy soil as a living system, as a self-regulating network that connects the health of any land, including the land that you hard work every day, to the well-being of its people. This idea isn't new. It's not mine, it's not Dr. Lane, it's not the school. It's the Gaia hypothesis that was proposed by James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis. And they suggested that Earth functions as a single self-regulating organism. As a biologist, I was always a true believer of that, even though there is a big portion of community by the time that didn't like much. But as science evolves, like always, one of the factors that I love science in any level is a constant. We are seeing more and more evidence, and you guys have a lot of papers that you can look for more in the reference list that will also going to be shared, that these microbes, the connection between the microbes, the plants, even how this connected through the water bodies reaching the ocean, everything is interconnected. Everything passed through nutrient cycling process. And one thing, that phrase that we grow up hearing, one person trash is another person treasure, that's in a simple verbiage what happens if in nutrient cycling. We're going to hear a bit more about this in the next slides, but the important message here is everything is actively maintaining the conditions that support life in this planet. Every single layer of microorganisms, from micro to macroorganisms, matter on this eternal balance out of nutrient cycling. For example, oxygen levels in our atmosphere have remained around 21-ish% for millions of years. And this balance was maintained by these own living systems, not just in land, also in the ocean. But our human activities, and when I say our, it's because we really need to embody this. That's the whole behavior of an entire species in this planet. I'm not putting blame in one or other country, but everyone has their own part, and we need to understand that and work as a collective. If we can reduce for good deforestation and levels of industrial agriculture the way it is now to sustain the amount of people we have in the planet, we can drastically reduce this nice balance between everything that's alive and give nature the time she needs to integrate again in the system and get back to the place she needs. So Gaia hypothesis suggested that Earth functions as a self-regulated organism, like I said. If we take this example I gave about the 1% oxygen levels maintained by millennia of years, because everything was in balance, was interconnected, and allowed us to have this huge amount of diversity we have in the planet. If we capture that message, that interconnection, that as long as I understand the regeneration system of the biome, microbiome that I'm working with, I will be fine. I can stretch to the limit of that microsystem, but once I cross that border, I'm demanding more from the biome, planet, than it can replenish. And that's where the problem arises. It's a lacking of understand how we can explore to the max without damage the only planet we have. I heard this a long time ago that we don't have a planet B, and I totally agree. So we have to do everything that's in our power to go back. So when we understand what Gaia means and we recognize that we are not separate from nature, that we are part of this as a living system, then we can really make changes on a daily basis in our small actions. And every single small action matters. As much as we know that there is a 1% defining major things in this planet, we have the power to urge, to demand, to go for, to reinforce the changes we know that we need. So it's time for us to retake that. So deepening up a little bit more on this realm, we often think of food web as a simple predator-prey relationship. But when you incorporate the Gaia hypothesis, we can extrapolate this as planet-wide network of food webs. So what I want us to do now is to trace a parallel between soil food web, Gaia as an entire web, and our human gut. How all of this is interconnected. Microbes in the soil feed the plants feed animals, and all organisms return nutrients back to the earth. Is that the basic principle of soil food web we learned back in K-12 school, right? Is the sun growing the grass that's eaten by the rat, that the snake ate, and then the falcon just come and ate the snake. But this is not just a one-way going. When the eagle dies, it will be decomposed by bacteria and fungi, and the nutrient returns to the system. So once we understand that this key cycle of nutrients are important, and we have a lot of research going independently on each one of them, and one of the most famous and important is the nitrogen cycle. We understand how essential each one of these minerals and molecules are important for us. In the case of nitrogen, is essential for life, but most organisms cannot use atmospheric nitrogen. So here's where soil bacteria, like rhizobium, for example, convert nitrogen into forms that plant can absorb from the soil and then pass into food that we consume. Similarly, the ocean microbes play a massive role in carbon cycle. Phytoplankton, for example, absorbs CO2, much like soil microbes store carbon underground. So we have, from different perspectives and different layers, microorganisms acting up on helping keeping the nutrient cycling around the globe. If we break one of these arrows, you can choose and pick each one of them. The whole system is risking in collapse because you don't know how deep they are interconnected. We don't know yet. We are just scratching the surface, and science advanced a lot in the last 15 years. But more we advance, more questions arise that, okay, I understand up to this part, but how A connects to C? I'm missing B in this puzzle. So science is always evolving and looking for more information. Microbes have highly important roles for ecosystem functioning and carry out key functions that support planetary health, including not limited to nutrient cycling, climate regulation, and our much needed water infiltration. They're also important to complex multicellular organisms such as humans and other animals, plants, insects. Everything that's alive in this planet is interconnected with soil food web. One way or another, everything starts there. So in this paper, which is in the list of the references, they dive in a bit more on how the nitrogen, for example, peruse through all of these points. Just this slide, we can spend hours and hours talking about here, but the importance for you to understand is that if we break the cyclonutrient, for example, nitrogen, in the soil, it will start to lack in the water, in the animals, for us, for everything, and the whole system will collapse. And replenish that with inorganic form is not enough. If you don't have the proper biology in the soil, no one will be there to transform that in a format that the plants can absorb. So as you can see, more and more is becoming evident that we need those heroes here in the soil, in the air, and in the water to convert those minerals that we need to survive. So just to trace one parallel, because I adore this figure. Everything in this planet, you can see some interconnection. And you're going to hear me talking about this over and over. It's one of my Elaine's favorite phrases is that everything is interconnected. Just listen to Mother Nature. She will tell you what you need to do. And just like in soil, the human gut is a complex microbial ecosystem. If you can trace a parallel between the two of them, like we have here in this picture, the both systems breaking down organic matter into bioavailable nutrients. They both regulate immune function. The soil microbes protect plants. The gut microbe protect us. And both suffer from chemical imbalances like antibiotics, pesticides, highly processed foods, and etc. Like the gut microbe plays a huge role in our digestion, immunity, and even mental health, soil microbes play a huge role in plant health and disease resistance. We're going to see more in the next slides. If we have a poor nutrition, like we have here on the left side, sorry. If we have a poor root system for the plant, not just the yield will suffer, but the amount of nutrient available in that produce will be there, and less microorganisms will be present in that plant. So your body is already starting with a deficit. You cannot receive the same amount of nutrients as when you eat from a plant that's healthy. You have all the microbiology there circling all the nutrients that plant requires to survive. It's literally this survival mode. If the plant don't have enough to stay alive, it will not transfer nutrients to the fruits, to the seeds, to whatever we consume. If the plant has enough, then she can transport those extra nutrients for the portion of the plant that we eat. So it's logical. If we can boost up the health of the plant, we will receive more benefits from that. So fragile plant system, fragile body system. Same in the opposite way, health plant system, health human gut. Again, we can spend hours on this slide. You guys have my email, so if you want to talk more about this, if we don't have time to cover in the questions, you can always reach me out. Now shifting a little bit more, getting closer to those little microbes that we are here to talk about today. If we check for biomass distribution of life on Earth, I'm not talking about number of individuals, but total biomass. Humans represent only 0.01% over the planet. Microbes, 17%, and plants, 82%. So we are highly, highly, highly dependent on the combination, on the healthy association between microbes and plants. If they're happy, we will be happy. So in the end of the day, I think I can say that, is that as long as, again, like Elaine says over and over, we hear Mother Nature and pay attention to what it's telling us, we will be in good hands. They will take care of us. But that's not simple or as easy as may be seen. It's a lot of work. You guys work in soil every day. You know that there is no day of the week, no holiday, no weekend. If it's time, if the plant is asking for, we have to be there. But we can make that a bit more simple. We can make that easier and can be more fun. Once you start to understand how the main groups of the microorganisms can help the system stay alive or reawake that system, you're going to see the plants responding more and more, giving you more and more signs of, hey, the house is great, everything's perfect, I have everything that I need. In return, take this gorgeous flower, take this incredible tomato, whatever you are growing in your urban garden. In here, literally, the sky is the limit, right? It really goes back to what are your goals? As long as your goals are connected with what you can do and what you can continue to improve, you will be great. And here goes another important message from Elaine. Always and ever keep your detective's hats on. That's the major point when working with a living system like a soil food web. It's dynamic, it's in constant change, but we're also gonna send you messages. Yes, I liked this. Go back to what we had before. So this healthy soil contains billions of microorganisms per gram of soil in a health system where I have all those guys, all those layers of a food web. And in these systems, these microbes will cycle the nutrients, suppress pathogens, and promote the plant health. However, modern agriculture, and here I'm talking about excessive use of pesticides, fertilizers, all the E sides, they don't, they are not directed like I'm using a pesticide to deal with pest A. Everything that gets closer to that past, it will die because the system was built to take care of the major scenario and not specific scenario. So what we have to do is always go back and think, okay, this is one potential solution someone is talking about, but how deep this goes, what this affect? Do I really need this level of action or interaction in my system now? Or do I have another alternative? We know that excessive tillage kills all the fungi, pesticides wipe out beneficial bacteria, and chemical fertilizers create nutrient imbalances. Without a functional soil microbe, the plants will lose access to key nutrients. There is no one cycling them. And then the system goes into deficiencies. So let's go deeper in the food web. I want you to take a look on this picture, right? A lot of times when we ask people to draw a tree, some of them will not going to draw the soil, others will not going to draw a sun closer by, but this only give us some hints of what are in the back of your mind when you think about a field, a garden, or anything related, and give us a hint of, okay, we need to discuss a bit more on this realm. So since we're in a hybrid mode, I will not gonna do this exercise, but idea here would be like, give you guys a couple seconds to imagine yourself in a field and draw a tree for me. In the past, we reached points that 80% would not draw a root system like we have in this grass here. I hope that by the end of these presentations, you guys, you're never gonna forget to draw the root system again, if it would not be in your drawing now. Why of that? Because here's where starts one of the basic layers of a healthy food web. The aerial portion of the plants will, through photosynthesis, will start to building up the energy in the food web. And by some of this energy producing here in the aerial portion comes to the root system. It's where we're going to have the bacteria, one of the most abundant microorganisms in the soil, playing its critical role in nutrient cycling, particularly in nitrogen fixation and decomposition of organic matter. They help make nutrients available to plant to uptake when and the amount that's needed, unless I'm lacking them in the soil. Connected with the bacteria, we have the fungi that come in place as well. We have bacteria here, some fungi here, but this goes everywhere, back and forth. It's everything fluid there. Fungi, including the famous mycorrhizal fungi, form symbiotic relationships with plant roots and enhance the nutrient uptake, especially phosphorus. They also play a role in decomposing organic matter. It can act as pathogens or beneficial symbionts. So again, detective hat on. I found one fungi in my sample. Is this a beneficial one or not? It depends. We're going to investigate. And I'm going to talk a bit more how at the end of the presentation. The protozoa comes by, and you can hear about them as ciliates, flagellates, amoeba, and they are single-celled organisms that feed on bacteria and other microorganisms, regulating their population and contributing to nutrient cycling by releasing nutrients in a form that plant can use. Coming next, we have nematodes that sometimes are called worms, and they are microscopic organisms that can be beneficial by controlling pests populations or detrimental parasites for the plants. They play a significant role in nutrient mineralization and soil structure. Coming along, we have the arthropods, which have the micro and macroarthropods, and also including the insects. They contribute to the decomposition of organic matter and help control pests population. They also play a role in nutrient cycling and soil aeration, which is very important. The system needs the microorganisms that thrive in aerated environment that are much more active and much more in synchronicity with the root system. Sometimes we're also going to have earthworms. I know that we have in the room a lot of people that love them. I adore them. I can spend hours and hours under the microscope just watching them doing their job and how they improve the quality of a compost. It's incredible. They are known as the ecosystem engineers and improve the soil structure by borrowing and mixing soil layers. So they're really re-engineering everything that we have in the soil. Plant roots, as we may think sometimes, they are not just anchors for the plants. They are actively interacting with the soil microbiome, releasing the exudates that, if you heard Elaine's presentation before, is all the sugars, cookies, cakes that she mentions of, that we're going to feed and attract the microbial communities and enhance. They will send, I need this. Some of the players that are there in the system, oh, I have it. Do you want to exchange? And then they're going to perform all this nutrient flow, all this nutrient ballet beneath the soil. So once we understand those components and the interactions, we can start thinking how I'm going to make this work in my favor. So the first important point is to understand that a food web is dynamic and very intricate. Those players, they are essential for maintaining soil health and fertility. And the soil microbes perform over 40 functions, 40 functions that contribute to the health of soil, plants, animals, and us. For instance, they facilitate nutrient cycling, enhance plant growth, and even suppress diseases. Plus, oh gosh, especially if we have people from generation from my parents and before that, I bet you can tell the difference between a good fruit, nowadays. If you collect in the same time of the year, same period of the season, you can see the difference in the taste if you're eating something industrialized, sorry, in the industrial management versus something closer to the organic. Organic is already a huge advancement close towards the soil food web management because the system naturally allows those guys to thrive. And that's what we're looking for. Dr. Elena advocates that we can support the health of our ecosystems and ultimately our own well being in consequence. So, again, everything is interconnected. So, oh, sorry, just to get back to this is the famous poop loop. If you heard Elaine before, you know that she talks a lot about this. And here's what it goes that one people trash is another people treasure. Essentially, the microorganisms we're going to decompose all the organic material, and as they accumulate those nutrients in their body, when they don't need anymore, they're going to do like any other living organism. They'll poop out. This poop out, the nutrients that are going in the poop, are being released in a format that the plants nearby, the root system nearby, can just like, oops, this is what I need. Thank you. And that's how the poop loop works. As I have enough nutrients to consume, and that's an excess for me, I can release to the system via poop loop or when I die. So that's the whole scenario of nutrient cycling in basic words. So, like I said, our food is becoming less nutritious. And this is not just because of the way that the management is being done, but because of lack of biology. So if I don't have biology there, nothing is cycling that nutrient in a format that the plant can absorb. So I have to keep incorporating more and more and more additives to the soil. But if I don't replenish the biology, these will just continue to go down because there is nothing to allow this transition, to allow this interconnection to happen. So what we need to understand is that, yes, we need to keep the intensive management for many layers. The population in the plant is just growing, so we cannot be naive and forget all about the large scale. But even at large scale, we can make work with soil biology. If you go to the school website, you're going to see many, many cases. And again, we can talk more about this as well. But we need to bring back the biology in the system. So let's go back there. The vicious cycle, it's what I'm trying to build up here with you guys. That's not so much visible intensively in an urban garden, but especially for you in Chicago, where you have a heavy clay soil, tendency of high compaction, those signs tend to be equally present for the simple reason that clay with high level of compaction, you don't have space for the biology to be there, building the aggregates and working all the nutrient cycling. So more than ever, you need to understand what is promoting this compaction in your area. What is missing there that can help me boost up the process? For example, I have high level of clay, super, super low level of organic matter. What can I do? I'm going to incorporate some organic matter in that system between growing seasons, or if I have a flower garden and I don't want to disturb, it's going to be a slower process, but I can start to pull out compost, connect with extracts, and allow the biology to slow down, start to work its process, and mix it up this heavy clay with organic matter to improve the aeration in the system, and naturally will become less compactable. So it's to understand what is missing in our system and how we can help bring that back so we can work in all those four aspects: reduce soil degradation, build up the biomass productivity, work towards reducing food insecurity, and do our part with help reducing damage on environmental quality. This reference is on the list. You guys, this paper really goes on a global scale. I encourage you to read because it's going to help you understand a bit more. And if you want to talk more about it, reach me via email. So when we think about regenerative agriculture, a lot of people think that that's something just for the field. I cannot do this in my garden. Yes, you can, because regenerative ag is pretty much about shifting paradigm. It's for you to understand what you can do different. Yes, you can reduce dependency on synthetic inputs. In the regen ag and regen ag/urban areas, they emphasize that building soil health through natural process by reducing reliance on synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. This promotes the shift that supports a healthier ecosystem, which can naturally provide nutrients and pest control. Many studies have shown that regenerative practices decrease the need for chemical inputs by enhancing nutrient cycling and promote plant resilience. We can also shift the chemical dependence. That's pretty much the synthetic inputs. I will do the same behavior. As I increase the health of the soil, I can rely on less synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides. I can empower the gardeners through regenerative practices by reducing by strengthening the soil biology. I can nurture the health system, the health of the system, and fill up with beneficial organisms. Here is where the change will drastically happen. This autonomy to the system will help you to cut the costs, protect the local ecosystem, and build a more sustainable business model, or whatever you have in plan that's close by. So on the list, we have many studies that can give you guys more information, but the gardeners can minimize all these chemical inputs without sacrificing the yield or profitability or the beauty of your garden. Imagine just have to make, not just, sorry, you can work with compost, apply the compost, and let nature be. I bet that the bees will love you forever as well. So this is a long-term fertility process. I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to demand multiple seasons to see a drastic difference, especially because you are under heavy winter. The snow slows down the soil activity, as you know. But as soon as the spring comes, everything flourishes again. Biology will catch up in the process. So it will come. It's just going to take more than one growing season to see a drastic result. But out of the bat, on the first year, I can guarantee you that we'll at least break even on the results, but at a lower cost. So here at the school, we work, and Dr. Lane work a lot with FB ratio, fungal to bacterial ratio. Why we care much about it? Because this helps me understand in which portion my soil is, and if it's closer or not to the plant that I want to have there. For example, I want to have a tomato garden, so I know that I'm on closer to the stage 3 succession stage, and I want a FB ratio in my soil closer to 0.75 to 1 fungi to each one bacteria in the soil, microgram in the soil. Why of that balance? Because this tells me that I have the ideal proportion of all these players in the soil to deliver the nutrients that the vegetables, grasses, every plant that are on that succession stage requires to thrive. So this helps us also to manage the system. It gives me a north to decide that I need to apply more of this or I need to apply more of that. And that's how we use those numbers in our favor. So regenerative agriculture / gardening. If we can divide that in 6 pillars, I would say that the first one to think through is cover cropping, especially if you want to, sorry, especially if you are in an area that over fall and winter you don't have any plant covering the soil. For the simple reason that that will protect and enrich the soil while you don't have anything thriving for your main purpose. It will allow the biology to continue the connection within the root system and keep the system improving and alive. You can reduce the need of taking the manually remove the sorry, gosh, the weeds or anything else that may require that is not allowing your garden to achieve its potential because the system is more balanced. So if you go back to that succession stage, the weeds are in a much lower successional level. So if I bring the soil to higher to where I need to be, naturally the weeds don't have space. They don't have the nutrients they need to thrive. So naturally, they're going to reduce until they don't show up or show up in very low numbers. Compost application. There are many, many styles of compost, but at the school we work with thermophilic compost. It's also my favorite. And we like to combine thermophilic with vermicompost, meaning that I will do thermophilic process, then feed my worm bin with this thermophilic compost, let the system work for 30, 60 days, and then use that compost in the form of compost, extracts, or teas, and really let the biology follow its course. Crop rotation. If you have an urban garden for food production, the crop rotation can help you to break the pest cycles. Because if you are moving in each bed different crops, it helps the system to catch up faster and in return control the pest faster. So it's just another trade-off that the system can help you. And fostering a thriving soil food web. When you have that, you at the end of the season can guarantee you're going to have more money in your pocket because you're going to be using less and less chemicals, less and less additives. Plus, you're going to have more time to enjoy the beautiful yield from your garden, which is what we're always looking for, right? Especially with the flower ones. So I think that I covered this a lot, but just in general lines, microbial diversity is the foundation for a soil health. Of course, that if I have representative of all the players, that is great. But within each player, if I have a higher diversity, better will be for my system because I'm gonna have different flavor of cakes, different flavor of cookies. So I'm gonna please, you're gonna be easier to please the plant and in return get better results. Oh, okay, sorry. I forgot to take the action on that slide. So when we are in a soil with high biodiversity, but you have like a very extensive system, like there is no rescue, no stop for the system, is a non-go of production. The tendency is that in time, you're not going to have the same productivity. As opposed to the intense system, if you have low diversity, but you're adding nutrients, the plants will grow fast, but there's not enough time for the soil to recover. So ideally speaking, you want to reach the sweet spot of a balanced high soil diversity and allow the crop or the plant follow its rhythms. Of course, that sometimes you want to speed up, okay, but respect what the system is telling you. Do not try to take more than what the system can deliver. In the end of the day, you need a holistic soil health vision, which means that we need to put these three areas together. Biological, physical, and chemical work hand to hand. There is no way to just look for one and neglect the other. You're not going to get the best results that you can. So here at the school, we're going to teach you how to care for the biological portion of the soil, understand the microorganisms, how to replicate them, how to apply, how to go all those layers, but we're also going to hear a little bit about the physical when we talk about the aggregates, how the biology interfere in water holding capacity in the soil, and how this can be beneficial. But you also need to go deeper. Check about compaction, check about soil structure, type of soil, how all of this is interconnected with the chemical as well. If the pH is not in the optimal stage for my environment, for the microbiology that's adapted to my environment, I'm not going to have a thriving community. And I'm not going to have the nutrients the plant need. So as you can see, we really need to keep these three areas as unique, as interconnected, and work our way. So how all this conversation impacts your daily basis if you follow the soil food web principle. First and foremost, you need to have a good compost, a biologically active compost. What do we mean by that? A compost where you're going to have a diverse biology, preferably adapted to your microclimate, because you are just multiplying on a fast space the microorganisms that are well known that winter is cruel here in Chicago. So I know that I have a hard period of time of the year that I have to work hard to save energy for the winter that's coming. So this will speed up the recovery of the area. So a thermophilic biome, it's called thermophilic because you have this stage of very high controlled temperature. We control temperature and moisture to optimize the decomposition of this organic material that I'm using to build the pile, but also the correct biology multiplication. So at the same time that I'm increasing the nutrients in the compost, I'm increasing the level of biology there. And when I apply this compost, or I make an extract, or I make a tea from this compost, I will have everything transfer back to the soil that in time we're going to build up the aggregates, the soil structure, and work out with the root systems. So the difference is long-term resilience and management site-specific needs. You can work on both at the same time, but if you don't have the bandwidth in time, I would encourage you to select one of them to work first. For example, heavy clay, compacted soil. The first thing that you need to look through is the long term, right? If I continue to have a very compacted soil, doesn't matter how much biology I'm going to add here, the system will take much longer to catch up. So I have to think through in the long term, what do I need to achieve? What can I do now to keep working around in a safe space? And at the same time, I will continue to adjust my management practices specific to how my site is changing. As you build up the soil structure, the soil biology, the soil community back in the soil, it will demand less and less compost extracts and teas application. So it's a opposite work-related system. You're going to work like crazy in the beginning. You're going to keep telling, hey, Carla, you made that sound super easy, and look what I'm doing here. It's Saturday afternoon, and I'm turning a compost pile. But I can guarantee you that by the third pile, you're going to be happy because you're going to start to see those guys in action. So trust the system. I know it works, and you're going to like. So in general lines, first, you have to find diverse local microorganisms. How do you do that? To build a good compost pile, biologically complete, you're going to use as much as you can of local feedstock material to make your thermophilic pile. Wood shaves, the greens, the cuts from the garden, any high nitrogen source that have nearby your microregion, richer and more adapted the biology will be. Then you're going to multiply these aerobic organisms via compost, then decide if you're going to apply the compost or make extracts and teas from this compost and then apply in the plants, which is the third step. You will apply them in the format that is the best for that scenario. And my favorite portion, monitor this with the microscope. If you are interested in work with microscope, the school can offer you a list of the recommendation equipment to start with. And you can also access more webinars in our website that we go deep dive a little bit deeper in these topics with you. So a good management plan. First is if you can work with the local extensionists, if you're not working yet, it's very important because they can help you on this detective hat. What am I missing here? Which factors I'm lacking in my plan, which I still need to take a better look on it. And share with them what you're learning. Hey, have you heard about the soil primer, which is on a USDA webpage, and Dr. Lane was one of the scientists that helped build that. There is a beautiful chapter just talking about soil food web there. So exchange, deepen up this connection, which I bet you guys already have. Then is understand which is the best biology amendment for you. A lot of times, just the compost is enough. A lot of times, you will need the extract, which is pretty much you're gonna make, you're gonna wash this compost through some water and make that really liquid format. And it's like a liquid compost. You're gonna apply all that liquid that's full, that's rich of nutrient and biology directly to the soil. But let's say that we have a lot of pests in the system and you want some plant protection, the leaf protection. You're going to make a tea, which means it's an extract with more water and some foods to provide a waking up start for the microbes to activate and allow the biology to create glues that when you apply this on the leaf coverage, they will stick to the leaf surface, forming a coverage of protection like when we use sunscreen. You're going to create that protection layer for the plants so the pests don't have the same easy access to the plant and help the plant to sustain the system. And since you are also working with the root, bringing biology there, you are helping the plant in both ends, subsoil and above soil, so the plant will boost up in health. And experiment. I have no clue what would be a good compost. Try out, experiment. If you have some ideas, reach out via email. We can brainstorm what would be good for you, depending on what you have. And this is also a huge, huge portion of our programs. We're going to teach you hands-on how you can make all these amendments. So here is the gold portion of the entire process. Once you learn how to count those microorganisms and check what is missing in the soil, you can start tailor compost, teas, and extracts to make that more precise or targeted directly to what's missing in the soil, and you're going to improve the application and the return rate. Here we have picture just for you guys to see what's possible to make a large scale with soil food web. And for a garden, I prefer to work with a garden, to be honest, because it's much more closer to the heart. It's much easier to, I mean, I give plant names to all my plants. So it's like, I'm sending you these little guys. We talk a lot. So that's why I'm trying to hold myself here. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a lot of jokes. So monitor this development over time. Microscope is your best ally. We once you learn how to identify and count, transform that in biomass, you will decide how often you need to apply and what you need to apply if you have any missing microorganism. And coordinate management practices, especially if you work in a community garden. You guys will test. Hey, I have this new approach, soil food web. How that work with permaculture? How that work with biochar? How that work with agroforest? Test it out. The best way to know if how it will work on how which weight you need to give to each approach is to test. But test in one bed to see how it will work before changing to everything. It's not that the techniques are not good or they are not work for your area. It's just majority of the time you need to adjust the interconnection, understand how the system will pick up together, and then to get the best you can. And work as a team. Here's is one of the workshops we had. Is amazing. The pile becomes more fun. We even give the pile names. So it's a lot of build a pile is a lot of work to do on your own. So bring your friends, your family to help you in the process. Okay, I will skip this slide just because it's talking a little bit about what the school can do, but I will explain in this next one. So the school is divided in few programs. The basic one is the foundation courses, which is divided in 4 layers. And here you're gonna hear from Elaine herself, the foundation, the theoretical portion of all the deep knowledges you need to understand what soil food web is, what can you do, and how to apply that in the field. So we'll go from the theoretical portion up to the basics of the microscope. So you can finish this program knowing how to identify all the microorganisms I talked so far. Once you finish the FC, you have 2 routes you can take. If you want to work with microscopy only, you can join the Certified Lab Tech program, where you're going to pair up with one mentor, one-on-one, and the mentor is going to guide you through the lab protocols, how to identify and properly count each microorganism group that we work with, and how to interpret that data, what that data is telling me, what's missing, what can I do. And you're going to offer this service to others around you. Currently, I have one student that's about to finish his CLP program. He's in Chicago. I'm still waiting to hear from him that I can release his name. And once he gives me that, I'll share with Jennifer and she can share with you guys. But in any time, you can check our website. We have the consultants webpage. You can find the CLP, the lab techs, and the consultants anywhere around the globe, not just US. So once you finish the CLP, you can dive into the CTP or GTP program. The difference is that on the consultant training program, we're going to guide you on how to work for others, for farmers, for gardeners, for wherever your niche is, but you will be there teaching them, working, making the plan for them. As opposed to the grower training program, you're going to learn for yourself. You will not going to offer your service as a consultant. You will learn the same methodology, but to apply to your own garden, to your own homestead, whatever you are working with. You're not going to have the seal of approval to present as a consultant, but the knowledge is the same. You're going to learn as much as the other program. I know that I exploded the time, but again, we can spend hours and hours talking here. You can reach me via email, both email works. And Jennifer, how should we proceed now?
Firstly, thank you for all of that. The slides are beautiful, so much information. I know Nikki has let me know that everybody's soaking it in and kind of sharing tips in person. We haven't had
Awesome.
any questions dropped in on the Zoom yet, but this is a great time. I'll start with my question. Can you share one of the names of one of your plants? Because that was delightful to hear that you name your plants.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have an orchid collection that they are my Star Wars. So I have Ahsoka, I have Yoda, I have all of them over there lined up. So Yoda is the smallest one, Ahsoka is the white one. So it really I let them talk with me. But I mean the herbs they go to, and I mean herbs I just keep the herbs name but put like a reduction in the end, like my tomatoey, those kind of things. I just play around with them in this layer.
That's incredible. Um, okay, so coming from the room, we have a question. What does the F:B stand for?
Great, great. So I kind of rush up on that one. I'm sorry. So
Oh, that's okay.
F to B, it's fungi to bacteria ratio in the soil. So it's the ratio of how much micrograms of fungi I have in relation of the amount of micrograms of bacteria I have per gram of soil. So when you see that ratio 1 to 1, it means that I have the same amount of fungi or same amount of bacteria in 1 gram of soil. And by amount here, I mean biomass. It's not unit, it's not individual. Putting in numbers, 1 to 1 ratio could be 135 micrograms of fungi per 135 micrograms of bacteria in each gram of soil. This gives me a 1 to 1 ratio. So why we don't put in numbers of biomass? Because the ratio speaks louder. I need to look for the balance between presence of fungi, presence of bacteria, to understand how my soil web is working on that moment for the target um, plant. For example, let's say that if the fungi is much higher than the bacteria, so I have a ratio that's not what I need. What I'm gonna do is that, or I'm gonna work the system to increase the bacterial biomass, or I'm gonna work the system to decrease the fungal biomass until I retake the balance for the level that I need.
Thank you. I also have one from Zoom. This is a great question. How are the compost teas created?
Beautiful. Yep. So let's go. I'm gonna try to be as fast as I can. So the first step for a tea, I'm gonna work compost and teas because it's consecutive. So compost can be thermophilic, can be vermicompost, can be Johnson Soul, can be any technique that you know of, as long as it promotes beneficial organisms. Why do I like thermophilic ones? Because with the thermophilic, I know that I'm dealing with pests and pathogens. Plus, after feeding that to the worms are going to take any leftover of potential pathogens that might still be in the system. And I know that the biology is there because I checked under the microscope. So I can see there is biologically active, meaning that I have a good number of biology in diversity levels that are going to deliver what I need to the system. So have a biologically active compost. I'm going to do the extract. The extract, there is many recipes that you can take and really going to vary depending on how much biology you have in the compost. But pretty much is you're going to get one portion of compost in 2 portions of water and dilute that compost in the water and sieve to a 400 micro mesh to retain all the big particles of the compost, allowing the nutrients and biology and fine particles go over with the water. That liquid is my extract. I can apply that directly in the soil as well. The tea is, I'm going to make a good extract, like I explained now, and I'm going to get 1 part of extract to 2, 3 parts of tea, again, depending on how much biology I have in my extract and what's my goal. And then I'm going to add some food. Can be fungal food, can be bacterial food, can be a mix of both. And the function of this food is really to promote or to allow the biology to understand that the system is waking up and they have enough food, they can thrive, and they will start to grow. And the bacteria is the one that grows faster and will produce some glues. So the glue will allow to stick the biology over the surface. So it's pretty much diluting the compost in water. And on the tea realm, you're going to add some foods. Example, oatmeal, fish hydrolysate, humic acid. You're going to have to test to find out which one is the best for you. Rule of thumb, you would start with 0.01% of the total amount of tea you're going to make as food and increase from that, testing for the biology growth every 12, 24 hours. But in average, the tea takes 24 to 48 hours to reach its peak.
Okay,
Okay, now I hear you.
that was a great answer. And I know you were trying to make it succinct, but it was still very, very thorough. We have another one from in the house. Do farmers that grow our food follow these principles of soil management?
Awesome. Yes, we have a lot of great examples around the globe, like I said, that are using the soil food web or biologically approach that we have similar, right? There are other people talking about similar and complementary actions. And yes, we have amazing results showing that you can reach even yield in the first growing season. In some cases, in 2, 3 seasons, you are producing more than the industrial management. The secret lies again on having a good compost and learn how to adapt the equipment you have, because this is another beauty of the system. You don't need any specific equipment. You're going to use which one you have. You just need to understand that if you need to adjust or not the equipment to apply the biology in the level you need. But yes, it's feasible to do in any scale. It depends on how much compost you have available and how you have to adapt the equipment.
Fantastic. Now we have one from Zoom. This is from one of our garden club members who's virtual today. Can you talk more about earthworms?
Oh, yes, we can. One of my favorite books that I highly encourage you, if you didn't read yet, is The Worms Eat My Trash. It's just like a workbook you can follow up. But the earthworms, you having the USDA including has some guidelines of what you have to do to achieve a good uh, vermicompost system. But those guys, what they're gonna do is that they take on a closed system, meaning that once we stop to add any food, we consider closed system. Which means that in 60 to 90 days, every single particle of the material that's there in the system would have passed through their digestive system or nearby their body where they have that moist radius surrounding. They have is so rich in enzymes that is powerful to kill the pests and pathogens that attack our plants, but does not attack the biology that we need. In fact, those same enzymes are the ones that are going to promote the beneficial fungi growth, the protozoa growth, the bacteria growth. So it's like they are really the engineers of the system because they're going to create the air flows as well in the system. And as they move around, they are kind of taxi cabbing all this biology to your system. Of course, that you need to figure out which ones will work better for your system. You have those that work in the shallow portion, the ones that go deeper dive. Majority of the plants that we grow in any area, they want the top layers, like the Essena fetida, which is the classic and most common one. So they are incredible workers. The vermicast is incredible. Just don't forget to sieve them before making extracts or teas from this vermicompost, because you can put them back in the system and not drown them on the extracts and teas.
That's an important detail. That was fascinating too. Here's a good one. This is coming in from Zoom. Do I have to amend soil if I have a raised bed?
It depends. The first thing that I would do is that I would collect a sample from this soil that's already in a raised bed to check the level of biology, what is missing there. From that, I would decide from the collection of composts I have, which one I would use, or adjust the quantity of compost or teas or extract that I would have to add to the system. If you are already organic, high chances you're not going to need as much biology as you are coming from a chemically treated bed. So there are intermediary managements that the organic, it's good for the system, but you can improve. And if you have a chemical treated area, you can start with the biology. It's just going to take a bit longer to see the same level of results as if we're starting with organic, which are going to bring results faster. So it's not that the system is not working. It's a lot of times we're going to require different time of processing to allow the biology to understand this is my new house. I need to build everything. Now I can deliver to the plant what the plant needs.
That's fascinating. And then kind of a follow-up, how do you test your soil? Like, are there any specific
Mhm.
kits, items, processes that you recommend?
Yeah, so for biology, microscopy, like Dr. Lane teaches in the school, is just you're going to collect soil sample, dilute in the test tube, take a drop, put under the microscope, and literally you're going to see and count the amount of bacteria, the amount of fungi, the amount of nematodes. Put all this data in the app that we have at the school, the called SMAP, and this app is going to report the final numbers you have per gram of soil. That will give me the information of how much biology I have or and decide what is missing, what I need to do. On the second side, I have to check for the chemicals, right? And we talk about the holistic approach. So I check pH, I check time to time when I'm in doubt of how the system is working. I check the nutrients levels. Basic, the Melic tree test gives me all the information I need. So it really start to read which information are you looking for to understand what's going in the system. So you go and do that test. You don't need to do that every single time that you're going to do, for example, a microscope check. I let the system tell me that, okay, even though you're putting a lot of biology, looks like I'm missing nitrogen here. Then in this case, I'll go there and check the levels of nitrogen in the soil to really connect with the biological test. And okay, it's missing, and I'm missing its protozoa in the system. So I will add protozoa to my system. And also I will come with, if the plant is suffering too much, the lower dose that I can of organic form of nitrogen to allow to let the biology breathe a little bit. So I would deliver there the organic source while the biology reorganize and catch up on releasing nitrogen to the system. And this is the transition period that we work with. When you are changing a management, it doesn't matter from which to what, you have a transition period. So it's important for you to have this in mind and respect this process. And on physics, it's the simple Slack test. You can take, there is a lot of videos online. I believe there is one in the reference list. If not, I can help you guys find one as well. And when you're going to collect one portion of the soil and put that in a sieve inside of water, and if the system holds, you have a good structure. If the system dissolves, the structure is not there. So you know for another realm that's missing. And probably at this point, you already know the type of soil you have. So the biology might change the proportion of the soil particles you have, but that takes longer. It's not one growing season that you're going to see reducing from a heavy clay soil to a loam soil. It will take a little bit of time, adding organic matter as you go. But the soil biology, I do every 2 weeks. I do one test because it's easy. 1 hour, I have the result. The chemical, I do once a month. The physical normally in the beginning of the season and the end of the season, just to create the history of the area.
Fantastic. And we're coming up on time. Do I have time for one more? I only have one more in the chat right
Yes.
now. Okay. It's kind of a big one, but maybe there's a simple answer for it. Does the soil food web help battle the effects of climate change?
Here I'm going to put a lot of what I think. Like any regenerative approach, I believe that is helping the global system somehow, because we are going back to what nature does, right? Once you respect what nature is telling you, you are working closer to a natural forest, right? Natural forest is there cycling everything it can to stay alive. Once you take one player off the place, it will crumble down. On a regenerative approach, we are mimicking back nature. We are trying to get as close as possible of a native system and let the system work its out to reach the level it needs to produce the best it can. So in my perspective, yes, regenerative agriculture procedures, it will help with the climate change. There are a lot of research being done. It's also in the list, some of the papers that they are tracking down how fungi is keeping the carbon in the soil to not just working as a sink, but really storage at long time. Because fungi demands carbon to stay to thicken up its walls and continue to grow. So if you disturb the soil less and less and allow the fungi to establish its net, the carbon will be there in the fungi for as long as that fungi is alive. So in the long term, the idea, and it's already having a lot of some startups working on this, how can we monitor and measure the amount of carbon being stored in the soil in fungi biomass, and you can start to receive credits for it. And here for me is when you monetize a process is where we can really push the system to the political change that we need to do what we know that works in the field. So I believe that there is these two fronts that we need to work with, but also the power that society has on the advocate. We can really push out the system faster if we continue to work and develop this together, meaning that I'm here in Oregon, you guys in Chicago, we are sharing experiences. There are people around the planet working on this realm. So why not join our forces and really push the research to this direction, the creation of credits, not just carbon, for all the other nutrients. Why not nitrogen credit, right? So all of those things that we can think through as a society to push the economical system to understand that what we do in the field matters. That's what should dictate the market, not otherwise. But here's a lot of Carla view.
That's fantastic. I can't thank you enough. You got through all of the questions that came in, which is fantastic. To everybody in-house and on Zoom, we had 100 people together gathered tonight to talk about this. So I'm so glad that even on a very cold night locally, we are thinking ahead to our gardening season. Thank you, Garden Club, for making sure that we spend these Januaries together and get a program out and work together to kick the year off. It's been very successful and very fun to work with you. And of course, thank you, Carla, for all of your wisdom and sharing so much experience and all the great handouts that everybody's going to receive in an email shortly. So if you're feeling like you want to keep talking in the room and sharing resources, please do. Otherwise, you will have Carla's email address. You will have some handouts. So continue your learning after tonight. And Carla, did you have any last words before we sign off?
First, thank you so much for this. I know how much work it is. It's late in the evening for you guys. Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun. Also, you can check our YouTube channel. There is a lot, all our webinars are free. So you can check like years of information and data, talking more about compost, how to apply, what to do, which scale. So peruse Soil Food Web School website. And if you don't find or if you have any question, you can always reach me via email. Thank you so much. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be in a workshop nearby over summer or springtime and make a compost together.
You are welcome in Arlington Heights anytime.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again, everybody. Thank you, Garden Club. Thank you, everybody online, and have a great night.